Hello, I'm Pete Lockett. Welcome to part 3 of Pop Go the Bongos. I'll look at bongos outside of the traditional idiom. So far we've been looking at various strokes on the drums, the accented and non-accented high-pitched strokes on the smaller bongo and the open sort of bass tone on the larger bongo. So we're going to carry on with that approach for now, looking at some rhythms over 2 bars, and then we're going to look at some kind of Brazilian-esque type shaped rhythms a little bit later on. So let's start with example 1. Now, last time I was talking about rhythms that have notes that kind of appear on the offbeat and in slightly different places. And this is quite a good example of something where some of the offbeat 16th note accents kind of pop out of the rhythm. And this type of thing can work really well with groups of percussion instruments and different, voiced rhythms amongst different drums. 3, 4, and. You can begin to see how the offbeat left hand is kind of popping out of the rhythm in different places. And it really kind of adds an exciting little sort of push to the rhythm when you hear it in context with different instruments. And then just another version where I'm taking one of the bass notes out. So there are lots of different ways. Once you begin to become familiar with some of these rhythms and some of the different shapes of the rhythms, you can begin to sort of mix them up and approach it in a more improvisatory manner. Example 2, 3, 4, and. Example 3 is another one where we've got a couple of left-hand offbeat pushes in the first part of the rhythm. 3, 4, and. And again, this works really well with other instruments, particularly with a drum set, for example, where you might have the snare backbeat and these little bongo parts like popping out in different parts of a regular drum set rhythm. Also notice that I'm mainly focusing on keeping the bass tone in the same place as we had in the basic Martillo rhythm that we looked at last time, just for the open tones and touches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the bass drum notes are staying in the same place and we're kind of having different accents to highlight that. Example 4, 3, 4, and. I remember last time I said how important it is to keep these ghost notes or the touch strokes continually at the same velocity underneath the actual main accents, the main contour, skeletal structure of the rhythm. Example 5, 3, 4, and. Example 6, 3, 4, and. And again, we can really see from that, all those notes need to be the same velocity. And that really comes about spending time just practicing with the left hand, working out different patterns, you know, even just watching TV and just keeping the left hand sort of nimble and you know. So we're going to move on to some different contours of rhythm. We're going to look at some Brazilian influenced rhythms. Now, last time we were looking at one of the main sort of things that come up time and time again in bongo playing, and it's this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, where you get the last 16th and the first 16th of each group accented. Now, this is what we're going to have with the Brazilian style of groove, but we're going to bring some of those accents out on the bass drum. So the sequence will be high, low, round and round. And it will sound like this. 3, 4, and. Now, this poses a slight technical issue, in that the leading accents are left-right. So for us to get to the bass drum, or the lower bongo, we have to have a touch stroke on the lower bongo. So you can see that before I've gone to the two accents, left, right, there's a touch stroke. It kind of takes a little while to get used to that, but once you're comfortable with it, it becomes quite easy. So example 7 again. 3, 4, and. Now, at a slower tempo, you can actually get away with playing that touch note that you would play here on the high drum. But at a faster tempo, it would simply be impossible. So you have to move across and play that touch stroke on the lower drum. And it's kind of just a touch slightly into the drum, a little bit, just a gentle touch, as opposed to the open tone that we have. So the same rhythm in reverse, we'll be starting with the lower drum. 3, this is example 8. 3, 4, and. Now let's make that slightly longer and slightly more kind of Brazilian-y, Brazilian-esque, Brazilian style type groove. We'll be starting on the high drum again with this pattern, and it's longer. It's 1 bar of 4/4 instead of 1 bar of 2/4. This is example 9. 3, 4, and. Example 10, the same but the other way around. So we're going to be starting with the larger bongo. 3, 4, and. So again, we've got the same problem in the sense that once we come back across, we have a series of touch strokes to make the accents possible. So here we have 2 touch strokes. Sorry, 3. Example 11. 3, 4, and. So here we've kind of mixed the 2 styles that we've so far looked at together. The first half we have kind of this slightly Brazilian-y type feel, where we've got the ghost note, the touch stroke on the bass drum. And the second half we've kind of got more of the open, simplified Martillo feel that we've looked at in the previous lessons. For example 12, we're going to have one slightly different addition in that we're going to have a broken pattern. So what we're going to have is some notes without any ghost notes in between. The rhythm sounds like this. 3, 4, and. This point here, right, left, right, with a gap in the middle, 1/16 note long. 3, 4, and. That's it for this time. Hope you've enjoyed what we've done so far, and see you next time.